Joining us now is Father Ricardo da Silva, host and producer of Preach, the Catholic Homilies Podcast. Father, thanks for being with us on this historic day.
It's wonderful to be with you. Who would have thought?
I know. What was your first reaction of finding out first ever American Pope?
I think, completely unexpected. If you'd asked any of my Vatican colleagues, we certainly would not have predicted it in a million years that there would be an American Pope. He was certainly on the list.
Yeah.
In fact, I had him on a list that I produced just a couple of days ago in an article, but absolutely a surprise.
Right.
Although I think somebody that makes a lot of sense for our time.
Sort of a continuation of Pope Francis's papacy in a lot of ways?
Undoubted. Undoubtedly so, not only because of his lengthy time in Chiclayo, Peru, where he was bishop, but also because we saw that in his message, his very first message. Pope Francis came out and said, "Good evening." He came out and said, "Peace be with you." It was a very cordial greeting, a smile on his face. But perhaps more telling was what he said. He said, "We are a church that walks together." The church has been on this program of reform, including voices from across the church, which we call synodality, which translates from the Greek as walking together. And so, much of the criticism was, is the new Pope going to come from a place of synodality? And this is clear. He is.
I think with his message of unity is how he gave that message in fluent Italian and Spanish. No English. What did you make of that?
He is the Bishop of Rome. So first and foremost, he is addressing Rome, and he speaks in Italian. He has spent a long time in Chiclayo in Peru, so Spanish is a big thing for him. I think the reason why he may not have spoken in English is simply because he is trying to show where his heart is first and foremost, which is with the people of Rome and the universal church.
And obviously the top line is first U.S. Pope, but do you think he would have gotten the job if not for his time in Latin America and Peru?
I don't think so. I think that was so much of what was attractive. Also, this is a man who's responsible, he's the head of the dicastery for bishops. In other words, he's responsible for choosing or putting together the dossiers that would have been presented to Pope Francis to choose the world's bishops. So he knows the church impeccably, incredibly well, and so makes perfect sense. And a man who speaks 6 or 7 languages, Portuguese, Spanish, English, just an extraordinary person.
And incredible. What do you make of the name Leo XIV?
Again, very significant. Of course, Leo XIII published an encyclical, a document called Rerum Novarum, which is really about the social teaching of the church, a church about workers' rights, a church for all, on the side of those most impoverished. He is clearly saying, I am on the side of social justice. We saw that in that opening greeting, "Peace be with you." The only message we heard as the cardinals were preparing for the conclave was one of peace, calling the world to peace and asking us to pray for them that there might be peace in the world. And of course, we've just seen that again in his opening message.
Such an added dimension to this on the personal side of things, the fact that he grew up in Chicago, went to Villanova, all these things we can all relate to. I've already seen people speculate, is he a Cubs fan? Things like this. It brings such a human element to this job, which is on such a higher plane. It's an interesting combination right there.
And so important, I think, for a world that's so divided, here in the U.S. especially, that you now have a pope who's going to unite people in joy. This is undoubted today. Especially.
So much of a taboo against an American pope. Why is that? Because a lot of people bet against an American pope becoming the pick.
I think it's because of the power behind the U.S., right? The U.S. is a superpower in global politics. The church is always on the side of those most impoverished. By choosing a pope who is from America and is only from the U.S., it's sort of saying, we're on the side of everything that is wealthy, everything that is powerful, and this is very clearly a sign that they don't want to send, I don't think, from the church. Especially not from the Bishop of Rome.
Right. It's a big world, and there's a lot of potential Catholics out there that they'd still like to bring into the church as well, which is a huge part of all of this. All right.